Warning, this podcast has stories of real-life events and true crime that happens every day. These stories may contain adult language and graphic or disturbing details not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
132 in Bush, I've got him at gunpoint. Check your left phone for pulling a full evacuation on your side.
They're pulling them out.
911. Advise ready for camp.
God!
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
And I'm Chuck.
And I'm Marco.
Dramatic pause and effect for
What the hell are you doing here?
Apparently I got called up from the miners.
So what had happened was,
Well, first of all, I want to address the elephant in the room. I should probably actually just do this.
Hey, I'm not that big.
No.
I am, and that's what she said.
Oh, shit.
I don't have my background on. I should put my background on because I'm not in the studio. I am in my base. I'm actually in my living room because the schedule's all messed up. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad we're able to do this, but I have to do it from my couch and my laptop with my headset instead of being in the podcast studio today. So I apologize if I sound weird, or for those of you watching on YouTube, that I look like a damn air traffic controller.
You look burnt.
Yeah.
That's what you look like you got a lot
Well,
of
yeah,
sun.
the lighting. Well, I have been out by the lake a lot because it's been. What did I tell you, Chuck? It was 80. It was 88 the other day. It was really hot.
The fuck? That's not hot. That's like brisk.
Bro.
It's like not even brisk. That's so cool.
We're straight at 106 over here.
Let
106
me see.
daily.
What are we at today? I think today was a cool day. I think we're at like 90 something.
Oh, man, that sounds like a dream over here.
Oh, 89. We're at 89, high at 90.
All right.
And I'm
Let's
like,
see.
oh, finally, I can't go in the pool. It's too cold. And he's over there. It's hot.
Yeah,
Fuck outta
I'm
here.
roasting. I'm fucking
You
roasting
are.
out here. I'm melting.
Let's
Because
see
Tom's
what.
body's acclimated now because he's been there for over 2 years. So if he was to go to like Texas, he would fucking
Mhm.
melt.
I mean, I have
I
been
mean-
here 2 years, and I the winters don't bother me. They never did.
Yeah, you're
And now-
acclimated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's
Oh,
see.
big time.
That's my wife. My wife's like, hey, can we just invest in a summer house somewhere north? Because I can't take this anymore. And I was like, yeah.
Bro,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh,
that's the
guys!
perfect
I don't-
spot.
I'm so
Let's go to
sorry.
Utah.
Yeah,
Shit,
we're up.
You say fucking Mormon country?
We're
but
up there
close
with
to
you
Idaho.
guys.
They have breweries and shit.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it
Yeah,
better.
yeah. I'm not moving to a dry town.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, Southern Idaho, like Idaho itself, has a lot of Mormons too. So does Northern Arizona. It's kind of like all
And
the way
breweries.
from Idaho, then all of
So like
Utah,
breweries?
and then Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh, like I said,
Mm.
boys, it is really hot here today. It's 90.
Oh my god.
I hate you guys so much right now. It's like 106. I'm not lying right now.
Oh, dude, it
bringing
was
it up right
120
now.
last week.
Okay, no, but before we go too far, this is not an episode of Locker Room. You did not.
Oh,
tune
sorry.
into-
I'm
You did
used
not
to a
let
certain
download the
cadence.
wrong podcast.
Sorry.
So what are you doing here, Marco?
I was invited, fucker.
All right,
Why you gotta
So-
say like I just showed up to your house?
it's true.
So what had happened is that we were left to play and to our own devices last week on Locker Room, and we decided to have
Right.
a chit chat afterwards, and
Right.
we just liked each other's company so much. We're like, hey, we should do some crossover stuff.
No
and
homo.
we started, just a little bit of sword fighting. It's okay. It's okay. So we started talking, and I started talking about debriefs, and we both brought it up, and Marco decided on a great concept on bringing us the stuff that we've never before seen. And we get that outsider's perspective because that's what we are trying to go for. We are trying to
Right.
talk to the mainstream or the masses, I guess, the general public, so to speak, the general public.
Civilians.
Well,
The CVs.
yeah, Marco's the general public. He is a civilian. So
Yeah.
he can bring us the stories, and we can talk to him, and he can ask us questions, to clarify things, to talk about things, and it kind of spawned this
100%.
whole new concept of
Right.
debrief. And I think it works.
So we're gonna try it out today. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do some debrief videos.
Mhm.
And Marco has brought them to us. We may or may not have seen them before,
Right.
because we don't know what they are.
Right.
And Chuck and I are gonna incorporate this if we like it, if it works, if you guys think it's cool. I think it's a good idea. And when Chuck said we should do it and Marco said we should do it, I was all on board because,
Well, this is
like you
a
said,
little.
Because Marco's
It's
smart.
kind of well, it's a
civilian
little.
perspective.
And honestly, I just brought up something that we normally do. Like, as if some of the listeners here do not listen to the to the locker room, they know that I am the only one of the four that did not serve or was or am a first responder. So I'm
Right.
a civilian. I'm
You're
a
the
regular
full
folk.
civilian.
So there's what you guys don't hear is what happens before the podcast when we're chit chatting like old Betty's around a pot of tea, and afterwards. And sometimes I have questions from my friends that that are more knowledgeable, obviously, than I am,
Right.
that have a background that I do not. And so we just decided, hey, why don't we put it out there to the general public, and y'all help me out.
Yep. So
And
here
which
we are.
means, like, everyone who's listening, if these guys not necessarily miss something, but if you have a different spin on it or a different opinion on it or something that we haven't discussed, or by all means, email the podcast. We'll be more than happy to come on and do a part 2 and read what you said or listen to the voicemail that you left, and we can go from there.
Yep.
Yeah, that works too.
All right.
Good old question and answer type of thing.
Mhm.
It's good.
Yep.
So that explains your presence to the audience. Now,
Do I get a coin?
I guess you
You
do,
get a
huh?
coin.
You get a coin.
Yeah.
I think I may have one.
We still
What
have
the
some
fuck?
coins left over
Oh,
somewhere.
okay.
I think so.
Well, I can't bitch. I got a hat, so that's good.
Yeah. You should have also gotten the Whoopi hoodie.
I
Mhm.
did. It is
Yeah.
fluffy. My wife may have stolen it.
Yeah. Well, so I bought one for a friend of mine. I mean, bought it, obviously we get a discount.
Right.
we
You
pay
wholesale it
wholesale.
yourself. Yeah.
But my buddy that I went fishing with, you guys who watched the locker room and stuff and saw that I went pike fishing. We'll talk about that
Right.
when I'm finally back. He and his wife both fight over his whoopee when they're hanging out on the couch and they're like
Mhm.
snuggling under the blanket and stuff like that. They fight over using that. And so I gave him my whoopee hoodie, right?
Okay.
And it said,
All
here, then you can have this. You're my boy. We serve, we work together and all this stuff. I want you to have it. So he's like, this is sick, sweet. He texts me a week later. He's like, my wife stole the whoopee hoodie. I should have known better. It's a hoodie, which women steal. It's a whoopee.
Right.
It's good.
Listen,
It's more comfortable.
I can get you a second one, but it's going to cost you this time. This
Yeah.
time it's going to cost you.
So this time it cost, I got his wife one. So,
All right. That's nice.
Yeah.
so
All right. Well, I guess without further ado, right?
yeah, so we may or may not have seen these videos. Marco has sent me the link to the
Yep.
first 2. I've
Right.
got them ready to go. Should we start with the one that you labeled number 1?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the first one that I sent over to you is something that's actually hitting national news right now, which is a situation I believe is in Ohio, where an 18-wheeler, an officer noticed that the 18-wheeler was missing a mud flap on rear driver's side, which is cause enough to do an inspection, which is very, very common, and I understand that, right? The suspect decided to take off and not pull over immediately, which started the chase. Where it comes into the questioning is at the moment when the subject pulled over and was starting to, what it seems like, allegedly, following the instructions of one set of officers, but this is at this point in time is a multi-agency situation with looks like highway, sheriffs, and police, local county stuff. All
You know where this is
the same
at?
time. In Ohio. In
Ohio. I'm sorry if you already said that.
I'm pretty sure it was Ohio, but I could be mistaken that one with the second one. I hope I'm not wrong. But anyways, so that's
I'll bring it up
premise
right
of
now
it,
then.
and bring it up, and then we'll go from there.
And for a lot of people listening, a lot of when we say multi-agency stuff, it's because a lot of these smaller townships and cities, they don't have a lot of police. So when they go in pursuits, you generally have all the surrounding cities coming in to aid help, especially highway patrol.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay, so they've got the dog, the guy's on his knees. Oh.
So what's happening now? The guy is
Okay, so he's had his knees out. He was down on his knees, his arms out, right?
His arms are up. His arms are up and out.
And then the dog was running away from the suspect, and then turns around and runs towards the suspect.
Right. So the canine officer.
Do you see that lady?
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
holy
Oh, yeah.
fuck.
She's like, oh, covering her mouth. Holy shit.
Okay, so he's still.
So,
Yeah. So he's
Why would they
listening
set the
to.
dog out?
do not.
So the dog.
Oh, okay.
Oh
The dog
shit!
came after.
Oh.
Yeah, the dog did not know where the suspect was, and started charging the other officers, the other set of officers, because the canine units are the ones over here, are the white ones over here on the left, right?
Yeah.
So the canine unit comes
they
out, and the
fucked up.
canine unit arrived late. The canine unit officer, because now they just released the body cam footage of the canine officer. The canine officer, so the suspect was following the instructions slowly, but following the instructions of the officers of which vantage point we just saw, right?
Right.
The canine officer shows up late. The canine officer starts yelling orders to him. He is following the instructions of the original officers that pulled him over. And the canine officer committed to releasing the dog. I don't know if you heard the footage, but in the footage, the original officers that had pulled him over are yelling, "Do not release the dog.
Send the
Do not
dog.
release
He's
the dog.
got his
Don't send
hands
the dog.
up. Don't send the
Yeah,
dog with his hands up."
And the officer sent the dog anyways. The dog, confused, goes charging the group of officers that were the first responders there. He gave him the command to turn around. The dog turns around, and then at that point, the suspect was already on his knees without any officers touching him or prompting him or anything. Well, he was prompted, obviously, but he was on his knees, and that's when you see the dog commit and bite him.
So from what I could see, the handler, so you've got the contact officer, right, which is the point of view we're seeing, or the cover officer, I should say, because it looks like the contact officer might be the one in front that's blocking the view.
Yeah, I didn't even know that terminology. That's what I'm here for. You know what I'm saying?
So
I'm here for it.
Then you have from the median, right, the center lane, you've got the K9 handlers responding perpendicular to and from what looks to be the opposite side of the freeway highway.
Right.
And now we'll get into like how this guy ended up along the side of the road to begin with, but I'm just setting it up from our terminology to make sure we're on the same page. So it looks to me like the canine handler deploys with the dog, has control of the dog. It looks like the contact officer maybe heard him do it or thinks he's going to do it to release the dog. Starts saying, "Don't send the dog. He's got his hands up. Don't send the dog on the suspect with his hands up." It looks to me, you can't really see because the officer in the front or whoever's in the front is blocking, but it looks like he's already on his knees or getting on his knees, and he's got his hands out. The dog gets released, starts to go towards the suspect, and then heads towards the officer that's doing the talking.
Right.
Canine handler says here, gives the dog the recall command. And once the dog's turned back around, he points at the suspect.
Right.
And sends him. Like, no, idiot, not him, him.
Right.
Then the dog goes in.
Right.
Can we watch it again and just see if when he went to his knees, if his hand stayed up the whole time, or if when he started, if at any point he started reaching into his waistband?
So let's try.
I just found the body cam of the canine officer. I'm gonna send that to the group right now
because as it looks right now, it doesn't look good. And I'm always the first to try to back an officer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at this point, like,
okay.
Hey man, you have a clear vantage point of the suspect.
This trooper right here with the hands in front of her face, I think it's her. Like, okay, he's on his feet, hands are up, hands are going down.
So he rushes him.
He's down on his knees, hands are out.
You know what? It looked like his left hand was reaching for something. If you back it up, but this
you can't really tell from that angle.
His left arm, this officer's left arm is blocking his left arm, the suspect's left arm, and that's the only arm that I can't see And when he kind of moves a little bit, when the officer kind of moves, it's blocking it. It kind of looks like his right arm is still up, but his left arm looks to be like towards his waistband. And if that's the case, and he says no here and points at him, that makes sense because he's reaching for something. And just because you are complying for the moment doesn't mean you're complying 100%. And if you are reaching for something in the waistband, the canine officer will have a free for all and be able to send that dog on you because
I'm going to show you guys. I just sent
But
over, and so we can bring
it
up
doesn't look
comments.
good.
No, it does not look good.
I just sent over the body cam footage from the K9 officer.
Okay, is that in the
Let's
email?
watch that.
Yeah, it's in the email.
Okay.
It's over there now.
Give us
And
more
it
context.
obviously, yeah, it gives us more. It gives you a lot more. Well, it gives you context from that because I watched both, and you can, if you can bring up the audio for that one, you can tell that it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear. I mean, you're on the highway, and he's across that medium, on the opposite side.
All right, let's go look at it. This says warning. Video may be disturbing. Get on the ground or I'm send the dog. Okay, there's the advisement. Here comes the fur missile.
How come I can't hear it?
Can you hear it, Thomas? Because I can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
No, I can't hear it over here. Chuck,
Yeah.
you hear it?
That's weird.
He's got a cock box.
Okay, so I hope the listeners can hear it. He's saying final chance you're going to get bit.
So he's got his arms out in front of him. So
Yeah.
They're not.
No, he ain't reaching for shit.
It kind of looks like he's half-assed going on the ground, though.
Yeah, but also the canine officer, the actual officer itself, not the dog, was 4 feet away.
He turned his back on him. Like, yeah,
hold on.
He could have just.
I can hear it. Hold on. I'm gonna tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
So 2 officers are giving commands now. K9 officers giving commands, and you can hear the other officer yelling in the background. So now the suspect doesn't know who to answer to. Right. And he's saying, "Police K9, you're gonna get bit. Get on the ground, or you're gonna get bit. Police K9, you're gonna get bit. Final chance, you're gonna get bit." And then he sends the dog and tells the guy to get down. The dog went the wrong direction. He says no, gives him the bite command again. And the guy stands up and pulls away as the dog's coming towards him.
Wouldn't you? Shit.
And
you're already on your knee?
That's all fucked up. Where they fucked up to begin with, right off the bat, is that canine officer, wrong place. He creates a crossfire. It's bad tactics leading up to the incident. So he should have bypassed all those vehicles, came back around next to where the officers are. That way, when he comes online with those officers, when the officers are giving commands, 1, he gets better situational awareness. 2, he gets a clear, unobstructed view of the suspect's hands from the full frontal. 3, he is able to not have the confusion of dark people in blue or black and a suspect wearing dark colors with dark skin, right? So the fucking dogs are colorblind, right? So if you're wearing dark clothing, everyone else is wearing dark clothing, dog doesn't know who to fucking go after, and you're already getting so close to this suspect, that these dogs are trained to be able to come up next to officers and not bite them, right? So that's why you should approach where all the other officers are. If you are going to flank on the same line as them. You don't come up behind downrange, because if a deadly force situation arises and those officers have to take a shot, you and your dog are downrange, and that's completely fucking dangerous. And now those officers can't shoot. So not only are you fucking those officers, you're fucking yourself too, because bad tactics leading up to an incident could put all this bullshit out of policy. Not to mention this homeboy, you stand right next to him, turn your back on him, and then you tell him to bite him as he's going to his knees. It's not good. I wouldn't be surprised if this canine officer fucking.
Okay, so I looked it up. Okay, so I looked it up.
I haven't looked that up yet. As far as if there's anything
bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up. Canine officer was fired.
Oh, yeah. Well, he got fired. He didn't lose his job. He got fucking fired.
Okay. Here's the weird part. I'm sorry, I'm moving so that you guys can, as I'm grabbing some. I'm mobile today, so I'm walking and talking to you guys. He was found to be, or the bite was found to be in policy, but he was fired.
Why?
That's weird.
Does it say
I'm not
anymore?
sure. I'm looking.
Would that? I don't know if you guys know this because I don't think either one of you has ran K9, but does that
I've worked with them.
none of that falls on the dog, right? Because the dog is following commands, right?
It falls
And I
on the
know
handler.
it falls on the
The
handler because I know
handler. The handler.
the dog is
That's why.
considered an officer himself. So
Right.
I
Are
get
you
that,
asking
and I
like,
respect
will
that.
they put the dog down?
No, I know they want to put the dog down, but I don't think I want to see the dog retired when the dog was following
No,
command. You
it
know?
would fall. It would fall on the handler. That's why most agencies now have gone to leashes, like a 10, 15, 20-foot leash. That
Okay.
way the dog never goes off leash. It never fucking goes rogue.
Sure.
However, I have seen searches personally with dogs not on leash, and it's a free search before that policy was enacted at my agency, and now they have to have it on a leash. And it does hinder the operations, but it does negate a lot of like shit like this, because if that dog was to run, you could pull it back.
Sure.
And most of the time when you're sitting there, like a canine handler will have a short leash with a quick release. So when he's standing, he can hold this dog out. That's why you come online with the other officers and the dog's barking, rah, 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 and you're like, hey, if you don't comply, we're sending the dog. And if the suspect doesn't comply, you just fucking send the dog. And if they choose to comply after that point, if the dog's already been released, well, it's like a bullet. You can't recall a bullet. It's already fucking done. And if you failed to do that, that's, but that's why they have the leashes. This guy is just running up and holding his collar. I wouldn't be surprised if this agency ends up going to like more leash dogs. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, I would say that there's a lot of agencies that are still going to go with just handlers with short leashes and letting them off. I mean, I worked a lot with the canine handlers.
And I prefer those.
They just let them off. Here's what I can see. First of all, I don't know. Let's back up. I don't know where sending the dog falls within their use of force policy. At our agency, it was not the deadly force, right? It was not. I don't know what it is at your agency.
It's not.
It was just below. It was basically about the same level as a baton, right? So if you could beat him with a stick,
I can see that.
You could send a dog at him. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as a civilian, I can see where that makes sense.
It's a pretty reasonable policy. Like,
yeah.
I'd rather get hit by a stick than mauled by a dog.
Yeah.
But that's, just me. And K9s are highly effective because suspects are always afraid of, I don't know what that dog will do. Like, they know what it takes for you to shoot them. Right. They don't necessarily know like when you can send the dog or anything like that. So there's that. But in this video, Chuck's right. That canine handler's in a shit position tactically. And I don't know if any other canine handlers that listen or have watched, like, it'd be interesting to get Elliot's perspective on this, having handled dogs for so long. But just from an officer safety standpoint, you don't want to put yourself downrange like that, right?
No.
And number one. Number two, he immediately started giving commands the second he shows up on scene. And he is just as far away from the suspect. It's not like he's in a better position and they relinquish control of the situation to him. He starts giving commands, right? Like it's free. While there's already a primary officer, you do that on my call, I'm going to jump your shit. And I don't care who.
Tell you, shut up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get an earful from me if you show up to my call. I don't care if you have a dog. You show up and you start giving commands to my suspect, we're going to have words.
What's the policy about that? The first source, because I have seen videos, in all the videos that I watch, I have seen where there has been multiple officers and even multiple officers showing up at the same time, all yelling commands at the same time. And even for myself, it sounds confusing, and I'm not there. I can only speculate. Obviously, luckily I've never been in that position. But it sounds confusing. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I muted this bitch. I apologize. Hold on. Sorry. Let me take that.
You don't ever apologize for that ringtone.
Oh yeah, the old Contra
makes me want to press up, down, left, right.
Sweet ass, you do. Right, sorry. Anyways,
so I don't think I would venture to guess that if I were to bet, I would bet that there isn't a single agency that has a policy about it, other than the two policies of, if you're assigned the call, it's yours until somebody takes it over, or you catch it, you clean it, right? Those are if you pull the car over, you're the contact officer, you're in control, it's your call, you bought it, you own all the paperwork, you own the arrest, unless by mutual agreement, somebody takes the
Right.
call, or you are ordered to give it to somebody. So like,
Right.
if I'm you and I are you live in the same town where I work, and I
Mhm.
pull you over,
Mhm.
I own you as pulling you over for drunk driving, but I could always call Sergeant and be like, hey, I know this dude. I don't want to. I don't want to be put in this position, so I'm going to take myself off the call.
Right.
And then
you
they would
have to have
assign
someone else take
somebody
it over.
else, right, to take it over.
Yeah.
But in a dynamic situation like that, where everybody's showing up at the same time, if you work with your guys long enough and you work with your guys often enough, you guys will develop a rapport. You'll hear who got assigned to the call. You'll know who showed. If I showed up first and I'm not assigned to the call, I am going to give commands until such time as the primary officer gets there. And if I see that he's not taking over and he's taking a cover officer role to me,
Right.
I'm going to maintain that position as the contact officer until such time as we get the situation under control, and
Mhm.
I can formally say, all right, here's what you got, and hand it off to him.
Right.
If I show up and it's my call and there's a guy who's getting the call under control or the situation handled, I'm going to maintain a cover position until such time as we can hand it off.
Unless he's
Unless,
fucking it up.
right, unless
Yeah.
it's my call and he's fucking it up, and I'm gonna be like, dude, shut up. I got it. It's my call. I'll handle it. And then I
So-
completely correct him. I'm sure
Right.
that's the same way as your
Absolutely.
agency. And
100%.
I would be willing to bet that's how everybody does it.
Exactly. And based on if you're working at a station or an agency long enough, you know those guys on the radio, you know your beat partners. So you know who's showing up, who's already there, who's fucked up, who's not fucked up.
Mhm.
And they should know you.
Mhm.
And you have this unwritten thing. And now when K9 comes into play, a lot of agencies have patrol canines that will respond to a call. You can call them up while
Okay.
you're en route or you're in a fucking pursuit. You're like, hey, let's get K9 on this in case he bails. And patrol canines in the pursuit with you. They're rolling along with you, except for my agency. We do not have a patrol canine. We have a canine division. So canines, when they come, they have a full-blown incident command system, separate from ours on patrol. They'll come up, they will take over and assume incident command and the search from this point forward. What primary unit will do, the primary officers and the two people in that car, they will go over to the incident command and they will give out all the pertinent information to the IC of K9. Then they will disseminate that to their officers who are searching with more than one dog. Mostly, sometimes you get one, sometimes you get like three. And they will disseminate that. What's up?
Sorry, what's IC stand for?
Incident command, incident
Thank you.
commander. So when they take over the IC and the incident command, you give all that info. You go to their like CP, which is just a command post, and you give all that info. And you can either be on the search with the head canine, or you sit back and you give out other information. Generally, the one partner will sit back, and the other one will go on the search. That way, you keep primary involved the whole fucking time. That way, it's not a big fuck up on the report. And they'll go in, and then when K9 starts giving commands, you are no longer giving commands. You are there to provide cover, and so that nothing is fucked up, because those are those guys' dogs and they work with them, and they're the ones who give the commands. Now, other agencies that do patrol canines, and things like that, they probably know each other, and have rapport because they work on a fucking canine, in the patrol sector deal, and they have a little bit more of a rapport. But with us, they was just they come on scene, they're taking control and things
Thomas,
like that.
Obviously, it seems like it was different for you as far as them taking control, because as soon as he said that, you're like, I don't know about that.
No, I was listening to what he was saying and agreeing. I was just like, that's interesting that it's the same no matter where you go, right? Like,
I got you.
Yeah. So
maybe that was the case here, where because
he cooks in the kitchen though.
100%. That's what it looks like to me too. And you can see that obviously the different uniforms is a telltale sign. And from another report that I've seen in the longer video, you can see where the local police was the one with the canine unit, and maybe that's their policy versus the sheriffs or the state troopers, and that's where the confusion came in. Where as soon as the handler came out, the canine officer comes out, he starts, I was gonna say barking commands. See what I did there?
yeah.
So he comes out, starts yelling commands, and in his mind or his training or his department policy, as soon as he steps on scene with the fur missile, as Thomas lovingly called him, right? Maybe in his mind he was like, I'm here now. I have the fur missile now. This guy should be listening. I'm taking over per our department policy and go from there. I mean, it still seems like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen heap like that, at least on my.
He should have went up there and stood right next to him. That way
Sure.
they can be like, hey, I'm going to start giving commands for the dog. Watch out, blah, blah, blah. But if he was already knowing, like showing up, he comes behind him, comes online. He sees the primary officer giving commands. The suspect's complying at that point. He should be like, okay, well, I'm here. If you need me, let me know. And the dog just keeps barking, and then, right, Thomas? Like,
well, so I was just reading, this is going to get interesting. We may want to,
a deeper.
So here's the question. Do you want to watch the other video and then come back to this at the end when I tell you what happened to him? Or do you want
what happened to who?
The officer.
Like in
this K9, yeah, oh yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking about it. We're talking about it right now, so we might as well
fucking do it.
Okay, because this is not the video. This is interesting, and it unpacks a whole other can of worms. Chuck will understand as soon as but this will honestly help the listeners too. So it sounds like he was in policy, right?
Okay.
I would never have sent the dog, I don't think, but
I wouldn't have either.
Right. So there's Circleville Police Department fired Officer Ryan Speakman last week. His termination came after an incident where he released his police dog following a lengthy police pursuit on Jadarius Rose. Okay, so that's what we just watched.
Right.
Now, it says footage from the incident which shows the 23-year-old with his hands up to surrender when the dog was released. The review board later determined that Speakman's deployment of his canine was within departmental policy regarding the use of force and canine operating policies. That's where I've never seen their policy, and I don't know. I can't speak to what their actual policy says. If that deployment was in policy, it may have been one of those things like, well, you probably shouldn't have done it, but based on our policy, like you made a judgment call and we get it. It just was the wrong call. Right. But it was still within policy. Okay, so there's the big iffy question is what their policy says. Because I can tell you right now, my department and probably Chuck's department, this would have been out of policy.
Yeah.
Because you did not have enough to engage the suspect with a police baton. You had somebody who was non-compliant from a distance after a pursuit. He was not combative. He was just non-compliant. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That makes sense.
He's not fighting. Right. He's not threatening.
He's not moving as fast.
He's just.
He's not really. He's not doing.
He's non-compliant. Sure. He's kind of doing it. Kind of not. Okay.
Like lazily. Yeah. Sure.
Right.
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. It's within department policy, but the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, representing the officer, posted a statement said he was fired without cause. Documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act said that he was terminated for violating department policy specifically for, and this is interesting, they actually quote the policy. Okay. What do you think he was fired for, Chuck?
He was probably fired for tactics leading up to the situation.
Okay, that's what I thought. Was the whole you're in policy,
maybe cursing,
right? Or go ahead, Marco.
I'm gonna say it's something unrelated, like he was late for a shift or he was like off.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? It's because it sounds like they're doing it to appease both sides. Like we're not gonna fire you because you're under policy, but we have to find some way to do something.
So now I'll clue you in, right? Like a sacrificial lamb. Like we have to find a reason to fire.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
He was fired specifically for, quote, unauthorized and inappropriate intentional release of confidential or protected information, materials, data, forms, or reports obtained as a result of their position within the department.
Oh, so completely fucking unrelated. He did something and released some shit.
Okay. Then there's a local newspaper that was reporting that he was fired for alleged dishonesty to superiors. Right?
Okay.
Now, we've talked about this before. You lie, you're going to get fired, right?
Mhm.
So here's where it gets weird. The documents include a July 25th report from the police department where from the chief of the department, where he said he received reports of the officer crying and talking with other employees about being stressed over the incident. Okay. So the use of force review into the decision to deploy the K9 details an internal investigation into the officer allegedly releasing confidential information and deceiving the chief when asked about the disclosure. The chief wrote the department's deputy chief spoke to the officer specifically and told him, quote, that he needed to stop going around to everyone and talking about the deployment. And despite receiving that order, he continued to approach other employees upset and crying. And then the chief ordered him to stop and said, quote, if you are confident that you followed training and policy, there's no reason to act this way. So
That's kind of fucked up.
then, right? Like the chief basically, yeah.
Oh Jesus. That's not a lawsuit.
He said, compile a list of everyone he spoke to the dog about. And then ultimately the list grew outside of police department employees. Right? So it sounds like the chief
people
said,
are questioning him and
don't be talking to nobody about this. I don't care how upset you are. He talked to department employees and the chief said, you can't talk to anybody about this, which, yeah, dude, this is a huge issue, right? This is like, you've been involved in something that's making national headlines. You need to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter how upset you are. Keep your mouth shut.
I'm sure your agency does it because mine does it. When you get involved in the categorical incident, which this is a categorical incident, it's not we would consider this probably a low cat. It'd be categorical because someone got bit. It's pretty fucking bad. Yada yada. The extent of the injury is determined categorical or not. And then when you're involved in that, when you've been interviewed, they say do not talk about this with anybody who's involved or not involved until the incident has been cleared, because we don't want any information getting out during our investigation that would jeopardize it or sway one side or to another. They want independent statements from everybody, so you can't speak to people about it.
Right. And so it sounds like he not only was speaking to other department employees about it, but then he spoke to people outside of the department. And then when they were doing the investigation into who he talked to, he may have lied, fudged, omitted, or misrepresented who he spoke to about it, and they got him for lying. So it may be, you may be right. You may be right, Marco, that he, like he was a sacrificial lamb. They may have like trumped up the charges of him lying. To sacrifice him because they couldn't get him for the bad bite. But let's face it, it's entirely possible that he screwed up and flapped his lips when he shouldn't have, and also spoke outside of the circle that he was allowed to speak outside of, and then when he lied about it, he got fired.
If you see the raw video, because I was even cut down one of the body cam footage. They released the body cam footage, his body cam footage, I think yesterday, the day before, and I caught it. He's immediately nonstop talking to other officers from his department, immediately nonstop, as far as like, oh, when I walked up and he was like, explaining, justifying his actions, so on and so forth. This is what I saw. But I could see that. I could see where he was just trying to get ahead of it, for himself. Maybe he's externally debriefing it, sharing with other people, sharing with other people that he worked with to get other.
No, this is what really happened.
Right. And this was going. I mean, I think this, for me, one of the scariest parts of the video is not the bite. For me, it's one of the scariest parts of the video. Is like Chuck was saying, he turns his back to the suspect. If the suspect was armed at that point and went to draw, that all shit would have been held, all shit would have broken loose, because the dog wasn't there at that time. He was 4 or 5 feet away from the suspect. He downranged from the rest of the supporting officers at that point. It's very interesting that no department policies based on what you guys broke down, and I'm listening to what you guys are saying, that part of it wasn't brought up at all. I mean, I don't think that would be grounds for termination. It definitely maybe be a disciplinary action, but that's once Chuck brought that up, it got my mind racing, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't even thought about that, but you're right. He's easily put himself in danger as well too.
If I were to guess,
Mhm.
I would guess that this is a case of somebody being so scared of what just happened to them, like black guy, unarmed. He sent the dog to bite him when other people were telling him not to.
Sure.
And he is so terrified of what's going to happen to him on the public stage.
Right.
He, like you said, he's trying to get ahead of it. And was he a sacrificial lamb? I don't know. Did he probably screw up and maybe do a little bit too much talking?
I mean, for all we know, he could even put
it.
a social media post up there.
Ooh,
He could, you know,
So
what I'm saying?
shut up. No way.
I mean, he could have. I mean,
I think that would be. I think we would know if that was the case.
They would
You're
I
right.
think somebody would. Some reporter would have dug up that social media post.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
all right.
That's crazy.
There's a couple key takeaways to take away from this, though.
Mhm.
If you're a K9
Don't
handler or
fucking
thinking
lie.
about K9 or another officer, just whatever, is
Sure.
key takeaways. And this is why we do these debriefs. 1, slow the fuck down. 2,
Right.
open your fucking eyes and survey the situation. Before you even decide to do anything, it takes 1 or 2 seconds. Survey. Okay, where's the suspect at? Where my partner's at? Okay, I need to get over there. Okay, move. Now you move. Now you're there, and then you survey again. Okay, what's going on? Is he listening? Is he not listening? You know, where in relation to other people is he? Before I send this fucking dog, take a couple fucking seconds to slow down and know your policies, know your procedures, know what fucking crossfire is, and don't put your partners in a position that fucks them. You know, more guns downrange, the better. But now you only have one gun downrange because you're it. Because
Yeah,
now
because you
you're in
took
front
yourself out of
everyone.
the damn fight.
Right.
Mm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So key takeaways on that is just open your fucking eyes, slow down, be smart, know your policy, and give yourself better situational awareness and situational advantage. And meet with your fucking partners. That way you can talk to them without yelling, and they don't have to yell at you because your adrenaline's rushing. Post-pursuit tactics, people are adrenaline's through the fucking roof, right? Slow the fuck down, break your tunnel vision, break what's going on, come up online with everyone else. That way now you have a clear background, and if something happens and he produces a weapon, you're not going to be sending the dog. You're going to be shooting fucking rounds. So you got to be smart about it. And unfortunately, this K9 officer, he had a bad day. He fucked up, and it ultimately cost him his job.
Okay, so let's see.
Boy.
Let's play Marco. Does it pass the smell test? All right. And we won't talk about policy.
Okay.
We won't talk about law.
Sure.
We will just talk about a civilian's perspective versus two cops' perspective.
Okay.
Would you give this good police work or bad police work? What's the grade?
On
No
whose part?
scale. Is this good police work or bad police work? What?
You're talking about the K9.
Yeah, obviously what we're talking about, what happened
hold on.
overall, everything that went down.
Them themselves. I have to say it's non-passing. No, it's not.
Right.
It's not good police work. But unfortunately, it's like one bad apple spoiled the bunch. Because
yes.
the rest of the officers, like, I'm actually glad. The one thing that I'm glad of, if I have to be glad of anything, is that no one is throwing shade to any of the other responding officers, because all the other responding officers were even yelling and telling him not to send the dog. They're going through the paces. They're getting him out of the car. They're staying, far enough away. They're covering each other.
Right.
It's like so it's hard for me to say, was this good police work or bad police work?
I
think it's bad police
I think
work, right?
ultimately what you have to look at it on the whole, right? And this is why I want this is why I want to go for a simple grade. I want the smell test, the bird's eye view. When you look at the situation in total and you add up what every cop did, you include
that
what
guy,
the K9 officer did, and then you look at what the suspect did, and you look at what happened to the suspect, I think you look at the negatives and you look at the positives, and ultimately the negatives in total outweigh the positives in total, which makes it bad police work.
It took down the grade of the whole group.
Right.
It became a group assignment in high school or in college.
Yeah.
And you were unfortunately paired off with that one person that was having I'm not going to call him a douchebag or insult him, right? I'm going to say the person who had a bad day and made a bad judgment. And unfortunately, you're graded as a group and a group assignment, and he failed his part, which then took down the entire fucking thing. The entire group, and the entire group failed because of that, because of one person's shortcoming.
That's why the other officers aren't fired, because the one officer was like, "Don't send the dog. Don't send." Shit, he sent the dog. All right,
that's why the one officer had that funny response that Chuck caught right in the beginning, when
she's like, "Oh God,"
he's like, "Oh,
this is bad.
This is really bad."
So
really bad.
I bet you, Tom, they're probably operating under the old use of force policy that I used to operate under, and I'm assuming your agency probably did as well, where if you non-compliance, you could OC spray, you could fucking basically
we could never send the dog for non-compliance. Never.
I'm not saying non-compliance. I'm just saying if they're operating under a really old, because so you have federal standards and you have state standards, and a lot of times the federal standards is a lot looser than our state standards, especially here in California.
Right.
So I could see, and fuck, it's really hard to see if that hand was coming down, but even then, it doesn't look good.
I saw on the body cam footage from the K9 handler. He's so
his arms are out.
His
arms are out away from his body.
So we're running out of time. We got to watch if we want to watch the second one. So I'm going to put on the second one.
Hey, Thomas, quick question while you're looking that one up. Oh, you already have it.
I've got it. Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Real quick. One last question on this one is you're talking about use of force, baton equals cane. Is a canine considered essentially a weapon when it scales down like that? For example, if I may,
you're deploying a weapon system.
Okay, so it's more like a flashbang or smoke, because obviously if somebody has themselves barricaded in the car or in a house, and you know that there's essentially no weapons, but you're going to send I'm going to send a canine in. I'm going to send a canine in. It's more considered a tactical weapon, right? It's more
you can send a canine in that doesn't bite. You can send the canine in just to find somebody, and then when the dog finds him, he will sit there and bark at him. Right. But with this, that's not what this is. That was deliberately sending the dog for a bite. So that was deploying
it's a firm missile. Right. Sure. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, here we go. This is from the Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan area. It looks
the big story tonight, the tapes, the trooper, his questionable past.
The 7 investigators obtaining stunning body cam video in the death
deadly
of a
ATV crash
on his ATV.
15-year-old Damon Grimes died last August.
You guys can hear it, right?
He was being chased by a Michigan state trooper when
they tased while he was driving.
Tonight, the video questions about
pause it for a second. Pause.
Yeah.
Did we not just do a debrief regarding tasers and we not
yes we did
taser?
Yes we did. So let's go
because
this is
comments from officers after the crash.
Okay,
our big story investigation begins with 7 investigator Ross Jones to show you what that video reveals.
The horrific scene is all
this is going to be
25
crazy.
Video,
it's 25 hours.
Cameras to dash cams, even video shot by witnesses. What's almost as shocking as Grimes' death are the disturbing and sometimes insensitive comments by other officers on the scene.
Okay, let's see here.
They had to hit him. Look how his bike bent up.
I need justice for my little brother.
It is a violation of our departmental policy to fire a taser from a moving vehicle.
They need to be called.
What about Adam?
I miss him every day. He was on
On August 26th last year, a Michigan state trooper was in pursuit of 15-year-old Damon Grimes. These videos tell the story of his senseless
death.
That's a hit piece.
Well, Grimes rode his red ATV on Rossini Drive in Detroit. Trooper Mark Bessner's squad car was in pursuit. When Grimes didn't pull over, Bessner shot him with a taser. Violation of department policy. Grimes crashed into a parked truck.
What happened?
Not good.
Oh, okay.
Driving, causing him to flip and crash. They're coming from Gratiot and Rossini.
Maybe you have another 2 maybe there for more support.
Quickly, nearby officers
Moral
from
support.
MSP and Detroit police respond to the scene. There, standing over Grimes' body, is Trooper Bessner.
Yeah, crashed into the Can you get a mask out of it?
Okay.
But quickly,
I can
Grimes'
just
condition
think
worsens
about what's going
while other officers watch
through that
helplessly.
officer's
Listen.
mind.
Tony, his pulse is weakening. What's our ETA on EMS?
His pulse is weakening. I'm like thing and you Jesus.
While most officers arriving on the scene turn their body cameras on, some appear to turn theirs off. As one officer arrives, another approaches, placing his hand over her body camera. Immediately, she turns her camera off.
These are all people that don't want to be on the fucking witness
Hold
list.
on. You gotta hear what he said.
Where's his mom at?
Okay, the man who just said that is black, so that's not a race thing.
No, not at all.
When EMS arrived,
He'll talk though. He's not wrong.
Was pronounced dead. Hours later, police were still on the scene. As the sun set, they used a hose to clean up the crime scene where a 15-year-old lost his life.
Yeah, that's what you do. Okay, I can't deal with this fucking reporter anymore.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was trying to find the raw footage, but the raw footage itself was pieced together, and it was like 25 minutes long, or like 20 minutes long. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to find that. Yeah.
Okay. So
the
wow.
gun is
okay, hold on. I want you to tell me what you think this is first before we even get into it.
Do I need to answer this motherfucking cowboy hanging out the window and firing his taser off at this fucking teenager on an ATV because he won't pull over?
Okay, go on.
Yeah, it's not good, dude. It's fucking.
I mean, I don't. There's no justification for that use of force at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just.
Fortunately, there are rules regarding tasers, and we've talked about it pretty
in depth.
I wish I would have known that. This would have been great for the use of taser episode.
Yeah. You cannot tase someone from an elevated platform. Doesn't even matter if you're on the roof with them or on the same elevated platform. It's still an elevated platform. You're not allowed to tase. You are not allowed to shoot from a moving vehicle unless there's like a deadly, like you can articulate the fucking reasons why you're deviating from policy.
Yeah, and it better be deadly force.
Like you're getting shot at. You're in a fucking dude. Like it's a shootout on wheels.
Okay, so if this guy said, it was deadly force because he was about to run over a 1-year-old baby, and I knew that if I shot him, it would kill the passenger, so I had to tase him. You're still gonna have a hard time justifying that because they're gonna say he's driving a vehicle, and by tasing him, you're creating more of a hazard that'll kill the baby and kill the passenger.
At what
point can you just ram him? So tasing, you can invent scenarios and still be hard pressed to find one where that is justifiable.
Yeah, because I even got in trouble for tasing while I was running. I was in a foot pursuit. I tased someone. They were fucking 5 feet in front of me. He started reaching into his waistband. I was like, "Fuck that!" Wow. And I tased him as he's running. He ate shit, and I fucking tackled him. Actually, I'm sorry. Taser had no effect because he was wearing a jacket, and I was like, "Fuck!" So then I just caught up to him and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna tackle him. I can't let him just like pull out a weapon because I couldn't see." And he was a burglary suspect, and that was in policy, but the use of the taser was out of policy. But the use of force was in policy.
How accurate is a taser? Like when you're deploying the taser, like as far
5
as
to 15,
5 to 15 feet. That's
for a spread. You can go 0, but you're not going to get spread. 5 is a good spread. 15 is your max deviation of the darts. So if you're aiming 7 or mass and you're at 15, you might hit him in the ankle and might hit him in the fucking sternum.
So someone's like so someone's squirming around. There's still a good chance that you'll miss with the dart, right? There's a good chance.
At close up, you want to drive stun them. You want to put the taser right up against them and pull the trigger.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then you move the darts, or you keep the darts in it, and then you move it to a different part of his body to lock it up. But here's the thing: if someone's riding an ATV, you're mad, and contempt of cop comes into play real big. You're mad. Your big dick is getting thrown around. You're like, "Whoa, he's not listening." Okay, but he's also a dumbass kid who wants to be grown. Like this guy said, he's acting fucking dumb, right?
Right.
Let him run out of gas. Let him fucking do something stupid. Follow him at a distance. He's on an ATV. He can go places you cannot. He's going to eat shit eventually. So put it out. Let people in the area know, but do not throw your fucking taser out the window and fucking cack. And he falls off because he's going to lock up. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. He's either going to hit the fucking throttle and go harder, or he's going to lock up and he's going to fall off and he's going to bust his melon open. And that's what happened.
There's so many ways to handle this. First of all, okay.
There's so many more.
The bottom line is, and let's address the black cop who was saying you want to be a grown ass man, you're going to do grown ass man shit, you're going to deal with grown ass consequences. I get it, right? Yeah. But let's back up and be human beings for a second, okay?
Yeah, it's tasteless for sure.
It's not only is it tasteless, but what you're telling me is that you believe that if somebody is riding a quad around town, they deserve to die, right? Like that's a death penalty offense. No, I would love to get more information on the pursuit and how long it lasted and what speeds it got up to, because all of those things factor into it, right? But the first and foremost is, why are you initiating a pursuit on a 15-year-old on a quad, right?
Yeah, he's not going to listen.
No, I mean, I could tell you a pursuit story. Well, I can't. I shouldn't. But I wasn't involved, but I heard it and I went, "Yeah, that worked." But you know what I mean. And so in this case,
what happens to if you can't tell the story?
Well,
I guess it doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply here.
This is not. Okay. It's different in the
the
war stories versus the locker room.
War stories versus locker. Exactly. Yeah. Different liabilities, Smokey.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, it didn't happen to me, and it wasn't anything that was illegal or immoral or wrong. It was just one of those, like, bro, you know, while policy may not specifically prohibit that, I think you're outside of the scope and, you know, general idea of what we would do and how we would handle a situation. Right. And that's kind of like, it's this is that on a much grander scale, right? And because he's actually out of policy. Okay. I don't know. Obviously this officer thought somehow tasing would be a good idea or the right way to stop the situation. But I wonder if you asked that same officer a split second before he tased him, "Hey, you want to ram him?" Would he have gone, "Yeah, ram him"? Like, or did he go through his options and go, "I need to tase this dude"? That's the best option.
I mean, would you ram a motorcycle? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, only deadly force if you had to absolutely use your vehicle as a weapon.
If that dude's riding the motorcycle, spraying a K9 into a crowd, I'm going to ram his ass and run him over.
100%.
Absolutely.
But that's not this.
And justified, yeah, for sure. No, yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, this is not good. Any way you look at it, any which way you look at it, it's not good. You know, at no point should you be firing a fucking taser outside of a moving vehicle to another moving vehicle, because that person's going to lock up, lose all control, and now you've just created a bigger missile.
I mean, if this cop who's making the comments about him being a grown-ass man, he needs to recognize that, and he needs to recognize what his partner did, and instead of just automatically, because that sounds like defensiveness from somebody who knows it's fucked up, right? You know, like when you fight with somebody and they're in the wrong, and they start to be, well, you know, you shouldn't have blah, 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 you shouldn't have this and that. And they start taking that attitude. That's exactly what this is to me. That's what it smells like. Right. It smells like this guy's looking at the scenario going, this is fucked. But ultimately, I'm not gonna, you know, take sides against my fellow officer. So I'm gonna tell you that this kid shouldn't have been out here fucking around. Yeah, the kid shouldn't have been out there fucking around. Absolutely.
He didn't deserve to die for it.
But that cop shouldn't have tased him on a quad from
and also
a police car. Which one is the greater evil, dumbass?
Well, even if he hadn't passed away from the flip or hitting, you know, locking up and obviously ramming into that stationary vehicle, at the best case scenario, at that point, he tenses up, falls off, and breaks a collarbone. Maybe breaks his back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
or brain bleed.
Fucking, at what point did you not just consider shooting the
hemorrhaging
tire since we're coming up with bad ideas?
Dude,
I mean, you're not wrong. That's some
fucking
Stagecoach
Hollywood
shit
that
right
shit.
there.
Oh, I couldn't deploy a spike strip, so I just shot his tire.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, like,
and yet
have-
that still would have yielded a better result than tasing someone operating a motor vehicle, a quad.
Yeah, a quad. I mean, and those are just like a motorcycle. I mean, if you can't control it, you can't break it. You're a missile now.
Dead.
You know, and I mean, could have this all been prevented if this kid just fucking listened and pulled over and got his shit impounded?
Yes, we know
absolutely.
that. Sure, fine.
Yeah,
but
100%.
if once he takes off and he's at high rates of speed, you have to. In every fucking agency, they have this. Especially throughout the academy, like they go over this exact learning domain. It's risk versus reward during a pursuit, and you should have yearly or bi-yearly, or not bi-yearly, but every 2 years, whatever the fuck that is, you should have a pursuit update policy where you go over all the new shit, you go over all the policies and procedures that you go over it so you're brushed up on it.
We did it every year when we got our eval.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
You did
I just
use
don't know
of
what
force.
other like.
You did pursuit. You did use of force, and you did sexual harassment. Those are the three you did every year.
Oh,
yeah. You know, it's a police department when you got to do sexual harassment every year, regardless.
You know, and the kid, yeah, he fucked up, but he doesn't deserve to get tased off of that motorcycle, because if those things work, they work really well. If they don't, it just hurts a little bit. But when they work really fucking well, and you cannot move your shit. Like, you're stuck, you're paralyzed, you're getting fucking zapped.
Bro, whiskey throttle.
That's a bad way to go.
Whiskey throttle.
Right?
Yeah.
Right into the truck. I mean, like, if he did, he couldn't have grabbed brake or clutch unless his hands were on the grips for the brake or the clutch. But he sure as hell could whiskey throttle because his hand was on the throttle. At least I'm assuming it's a twist grip throttle. I mean,
quads are push with your thumb.
I mean, are all quads thumb push?
Yeah.
Okay, so then your grip goes tight, and your freaking thumb just hits that thing,
wrenches it. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and when people get scared anyways, I see it all the time. They whiskey throw that motherfucker. Doesn't matter if you're on a bike or a quad. Fuck, I've done it on a quad. I got scared. I was like, fuck. And this just happens. You clench hard and it fucking goes because it's your fucking thumb. It's opposable. You're already on that grip and pressing and holding it. And if you tighten really fucking hard to make a fist, now you're fucking pinning that bitch and you're going to eat shit. Like the cop, the takeaways, again, slow the fuck down. Take a breath. Don't take everything so fucking seriously, right? With someone not listening to you, be like, oh, fuck this, I'm the law. Yeah, you are the law, but slow the fuck down. That's a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't even matter if it was an adult. It's still a fucking person. You have to utilize better judgment, know your policies and procedures, because if you deviate from that, it's like you're just committing a crime at this point. It makes you no better than the fucking criminals on the street. You are knowingly breaking policy by shooting out of a fucking moving conveyance onto another moving conveyance, a vehicle, and fucking hitting them with a fucking taser. What the fuck? Just slow down. Call in more units. Call in an airship. Track this motherfucker. I don't know. Keep eyes on him. Let him eat
just
shit.
follow
Let
him.
TC on his own. Yeah.
You got a bigger gas tank than he does.
Yeah, he'll TC,
or he'll ride home,
and you just stop and get him at his house.
There's
so many other better ways to handle this situation.
Yeah.
I think what happened was the cop was just pissed.
Well, so I think you said that earlier, and I think you nailed it. It's contempt. So, Marco, if you don't know,
no, I caught.
There's a phrase, contempt of cop.
Contempt of cop. Okay.
Well, you've heard of contempt of court, where the judge can fine you or throw you in jail.
Sure.
Well, contempt of cop is
when you can tase somebody out
imaginary charge.
Okay.
That you get charged with when you get arrested for something chicken shit, or you get an ass whooping that is a little bit harder than maybe it needed to be.
Oh yeah, I ran across a video where a cop broke this guy's shoulders because he asked him why he had a handcuff key, and he said, because I'm into kinky shit like that. The cop didn't like that, hemmed him up a little too hard and broke some shit on him.
I mean, was he using reasonable force? Sure. Did the suspect's shoulder break? Absolutely. Was it because of what he said? Prove it.
Yeah, it was.
He's like, it's my girlfriend. My girlfriend likes to tie me up. I just like to be able to get out.
So here's what I'll say about contempt of cop. It is a necessary evil at times. Every cop needs to have that command, because it comes with command presence, right? You show up, you are in command. You are command presence. You need to know how far you can push and take and what you can do with that command presence. Mm-hmm. But yes, right? And if somebody, I mean, I've literally taken somebody to jail for the most chicken shit charge, but it was a charge that they violated. It was literally delaying or obstructing a paramedic in the performance of his duties. Yeah. Right? That was the charge. And I warned him, and I looked at the sergeant and he goes, fuck him. He goes, right? And he went, and that's what the charge is for. It's literally so I can make sure that you're not an asshole and you can't stand in the way of the paramedics or the firefighters or the police officers or whatever. And you don't typically charge people with it, but
sure,
if they don't listen, it's not contempt of cop. It's a real charge, but you get charged with it because you show contempt of cop. Well, this is what happens when contempt of cop goes
148
too far.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
this cop was mad.
Yeah.
And again, we're just spitballing. We're speculating. I don't know this cop. Maybe if I sat down with him, he could tell me a tale that I would come away going, holy shit, I didn't know any of that happened. And yeah, it's totally justified. But as of right now, I'm trusting in the year-long investigation that was conducted into this incident. And if there were any reason to justify what he did, we'd know it. But there wasn't.
Right. Yeah, there's no way you shake it. Is this going to be good? No fucking way.
Yeah. So
unless somehow he produced a handgun and you're like, well, I didn't want to fucking kill him, but I just figured I'd do this. But that's not the case.
Yep.
That's not the case.
Well, all right. That was 2 videos in a debrief with Marco bringing them to us. I'll be honest, I had not seen either one of those.
Okay, me neither.
And I'm kind of surprised I didn't hear about this guy on the ATV getting tased. That seems like a pretty big deal, and I'm going to go look at more about it.
Oh yeah, I first time I've seen any of them. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I'm curious to see if there's actual footage of the flipping and the collision and stuff like that.
It's I mean, you may be able to find something, but it's not out there. Because there's a case there's a case obviously ongoing. So
they're suing the shit out of that. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So anyways, hey, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, let's see. Let's see how this goes over. I think we should look into the idea of doing it again. We'll have Marco bring us some videos. So you guys can even email, like as always, you can email us the videos you want us to debrief, like you have been doing. But if Marco brings them to us, we'll do this too. This is fun.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
well, until our next episode, come home with your shield or honor.